Hey, how's it going?
Good. Taylor, and we have a couple other people in the room also. I, since it's the middle of the day here, I never know how many people are going to show up. We have Andre, Laurette, and Taylor. So this is actually going to be somewhat of an informal conversation. I have some things I want to talk about, and I have some things I want you all to share as well, because we're dealing with something that is, how can we describe it? Nobody's ever experienced before. And so coming up with solutions, I think that the mind hive is a good way of going about it. I just want to disable the, give me 1 second. I want to disable the waiting room so I don't have to let everybody in. Anyway, so my name is Andrea Mia, and I am in Portland, Oregon. I've been a coach for about 7 years now, and I come from a very different background. I worked in the film industry for 17 years or so, mainly producing, but also selling films, and have worked in several companies since, and always been somebody involved with teaching and trying to help people in some way. And this time period in COVID has been an interesting one, in that I had cancer last year and had treatments up until February this year. And so just when I was like ready to come out again and be like part of the world, that's when the lockdown happened. So I've been locked down since July of last year, really, meaning working from home and not able to have, quote, normal life, unquote. So I've gotten sort of used to it in some ways, although I don't know that there's any entire way of getting used to it. And so I wanted to reveal that about myself to you, because that's part of why I wanted to have this webinar and have this opportunity for us to speak and to talk about some of the things that are extraordinary about this time period and about how we're all figuring out how to cope. There's no one prescription for everybody in figuring out what this is and what the new normal might be. But there are some better ways to do it. And the main thing that I want to have for you all, and for myself as well, is that we not reach the point of burning out, of really having serious stress from all of it. And so that's why I wanted to do this webinar. And I was going to say, you can all unmute yourselves if you like, because this is going to be participatory. And I don't know how to get you all unmuted. I'm just asking you to unmute, basically. I think that's the way to do it. Okay, so that's something about me. So today we're going to talk about the different ways that stress is being manifest, in particularly with regard to work from home, and how work from home has also changed in and of itself right now as well. And we are also going to talk about ways that we're all dealing with it, and what strategies that will hopefully help with stress management so that we don't reach the point of burnout. I will say that one thing to keep in mind is that whatever we come up with today and whatever you might try to bring home and try differently, the one thing that I have learned over time about stress management that is important, that is that there's never one way about it necessarily. There can be multiple ways about it, and these can change over time. And part of resilience, which is strength, which is, how we are able to bounce back. Part of it is keeping nimble a little bit with how we're actually dealing with the stress. What is something new that we might need to take on to do it differently than we have before? their challenges of this time period right now, as we know, are different than they were if you were working from home before, just as that's what you were doing, was working from home. The challenges are now that your entire family is at home, for example, and also that the opportunities to go out and do things are just different. And so the old stress relievers that we might have had that were outside of the home can also not be necessarily available to us anymore. So it is a different type of time. And it's part of what I want to talk about, how to be resilient also by being flexible to a good degree. So some of the challenges from the work from home environment, and these are challenges that we are seeing definitely in the population that I'm coaching. And also, as far as all the reading that I'm doing, this seems to be a consistent problem that many people are having. And these are not people necessarily with COVID. These are just the fact that life this year, as we all know, is rather stressful. No matter where you are in the world, it is a different time. So sleep patterns becoming very inconsistent, not being able to get enough sleep or getting too much sleep. Either of those could be signs of stress. Overeating or undernourishing yourself, eating too much, emotional eating. These are other signs that we are not necessarily as calm as we could be. Too much or too little company. I think this is actually one of the hugest things. I know that, and I will be personal about this. I lived in a studio apartment with my boyfriend for through the whole cancer thing and into this, and it was too much time together. 24 hours a day, all the time, without a break, both working from home. A lot of families are experiencing that with children around as well. No break from each other. And the other side of it are people that are at home and by themselves and not able to have company. They may be working from home, but they have no human contact that isn't in this fashion, perhaps in Zoom or in very limited basis. And we are animals and we often like to have human contact. And that's why it's very hard to, for example, find a dog now. If you go to the pound, if you go to places where you adopt dogs, most dogs have been adopted actually since the lockdown started because people crave, other animals to be around on some level. If not humans, then other animals that are out there. And if you don't have that, that can become a stressor if it's not available to you. Lack of structure is probably one of the more obvious ones, I would say, in the sense of and this one is an interesting one because one of the biggest complaints that we are hearing about from people, is not having any difference between my work time and my play time or my not work time, and the work time creeping more and more into the regular lifetime, so that there's no difference between the two, and that work has become less efficient in the sense of, okay, I used to go to work and it was from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and when I went home it was over, right? Now it may be 8 o'clock to, well, I was still working on stuff at like 10 o'clock at night. Yes, I took breaks and I did other things, but it's like it's just a big creep that goes on when you have a lack of structure and a lack of definition and boundaries. And so that seems to be a very consistent problem, is that people are actually, and you might think that people are working less because they're working from home. However, what seems to be happening is that people are actually working to some degree more, meaning that they're spending more attention on working from home. Another problem is, and these are a little different from each other, a little the same, too many distractions or lack of focus. Obviously, the distractions are different if you have a whole family at home and that you're taking care of a family and children have needs and they're going to school from the house, and that can bring out a whole lot of different things that are distractions in a sense. But also working from home and not having designated areas, for example, for all the different activities that you're doing, and looking at it as if, well, I'm working from home and that means I work in this space that I'm in right here, as opposed to I work in the entire space of my apartment. I could work anywhere. There's a freedom in that, but in a way, there's so many more distractions, and it leads to a lack of focus to some degree because, well, if I work in my kitchen, I can possibly cook at the same time that I'm working. Or if I work in my bedroom, well, I can possibly lie down while I'm working. Oh, and if I work on the couch, my gosh, well, that's where the TV is. Maybe I want to turn that on. Or buy the books over there. That's another whole area I could possibly want to be distracted by. So, some of this is that if you're surrounded by your everything that you love to do, your home and your surroundings, things that you like and love, they can pull you away from your focus. All we have is the attention that we put on things. And that's what time is, basically. And when your attention is pulled into a lot of different directions at the same time, it's hard to make your time valuable in that way. And that can also be a stressor. So Lorette, Satish, and Taylor, thank you for joining. I wanted to know from you all, what are you experiencing as far as stressors go? What are you finding that has been different since March or February? I'm not sure when all of you might have entered this zone. Some places are faster than others, but my question is, when have you experienced stress and how has it been manifesting itself? And please unmute yourselves.
Yeah, I can go first. So literally everything on the slide.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, I don't really like sleeping. So sleep is always the first thing that I, sacrifice if I want to get more work done or have more time to play or what have you. And then I've just been free to get as many snacks as I want now. So I've definitely been eating a lot more and not nearly as healthy. And then the structure's completely gone out the window. And being a software engineer, like I have free range of the internet, so all of the distractions and lack of focus. So
everything all at the same time. So I have a question for you. Have you tried to adjust anything to make it work better for you yet?
Yes, it kind of ebbs and flows depending on what I'm trying to prioritize. So like I've started doing a sleep schedule and then like had a routine of like I do some mindfulness before going to bed, had like a pre-bed routine, like doing reflecting on the day and then my mindfulness stuff and then going to sleep, and it's all at a scheduled time each day of the week. But then things started to ramp up with work, school, so like I'll worry about sleep later. And then with like eating, I've been trying to do more healthy stuff, so going to the farmer's market and things like that, but then also was like stressed, and so like I want to treat myself, and so
right. It's the go-to thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
that's a
so
hard one
yeah,
to break down. How do you since you've been working at home, how long have you been working at home?
for about 2 months. So I'm a grad student, but I'm doing remote school. So I'm
Yeah,
used to being at home, but now I'm like working in
you're
school
doing
at home.
everything now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which is different. Do you have like a designated area for your work?
No, so I'm actually away from home. I relocated for work, and so
Okay.
yeah, I just work in my room, my bedroom.
In your bedroom. So you have
Yeah.
other choices in the house of where to work?
I'm in like a dorm kind of setup. So there's like this office space, but I'm trying to keep to myself.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any, because there are things called screens that are wonderful ways for breaking up space in a room, even if you're just in a studio
Mhm.
situation. But even in a very small place, uh, figuring out ways to designate, like this is separate, this is where I work, and this is where I sleep,
Mhm.
and trying to get to the point where you don't have to see your bed when you're working,
Mhm.
and you don't have to see your desk or sleeping.
All right.
Figuring out how to break that up a little bit. That's one thing that I found has helped me a lot living in a studio apartment.
Okay.
And I've used a screen to block it off so that I'm not tempted to go work from bed, for example,
Mhm.
or which turns out is quite easy. But it's almost like it's poisoning the area, basically.
Mhm.
And so that's one thing I've tried in that way. What have you tried so I love that you're doing the mindfulness to go to sleep, and to have a bit of a ritual, although you were saying that it was also sort of deteriorating as you got more work.
For sure.
Yeah. So how can you bring that back again? How can you,
Yeah, I just need to be more disciplined in my schedule. I've thrown it out the window, so I should just reel that back in and be more disciplined with that.
what's one thing nice about it, I must say, that when you mentioned it, it came to mind that one of the things I've lost track of is time. You know, is today Monday? It's like, it's Tuesday. Wait, no, it's Monday. It's Monday. I remember something was different on Sunday. And that has been the case now for months. I've had that feeling of
Right.
really have to figure out, is it Wednesday or what day is this?
Mhm.
And how am I going to mark time? And we need, somehow we're creatures that need that. We need to be able to mark time in some way, to know that it is past and to have a sense of ourselves within it. And so ritual wise, like you just mentioned, I started creating rituals at night. Also, like registering, reading, before I go to sleep at night, and
Mhm.
registering like what the day was and that it was whatever Sunday. And what was my life like on Sunday? What did I get to do that was extraordinary or fun or nice in some way? So not even terribly deeply mindful, just registering the time and where I am in my week and what are my intentions for the week. And that I do on Sunday, but during the week, also just reminding myself of like what else I want to accomplish that week before I go to sleep.
Mhm.
That's one thing I do to help them. Laurette, Raj, and Satish, would you like to?
Yeah, I'd like to go next. Talking about sleep cycle, it's almost 4 a.m. here on Tuesday.
Well,
And
I see the problem, Satish, already.
yeah, I mean, this is nothing. Okay, this is nothing because today I just kept alarm and specifically for this webinar, I kind of got up early. And yeah, I do have a separate room, a table, and was able to designate some region apart. But one thing, I mean, apart from most of the other patterns which you already covered for Taylor, one thing I personally face is too much time with family members,
Yeah.
and especially if these people are just toxic, like they're having fights between each other. Like you have to stop work just to handle your parents fighting, or
Yeah.
just to have such scenarios. Is like something I'm not able to cope up with. Like,
So do you have private space?
yes, I do.
Okay. But it's loud enough you hear it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's really tough. I just spent a month at home with my mother and brother, and they weren't loud. In fact, they were very quiet, but they annoyed the hell out of me every now and then while I was working. And I was suddenly grateful not to have to be around people. I can relate to that. That can be really challenging. Uh, so what do you think you need to do to have the space, and I mean, don't mean just physical space, I also mean mental space, that spares you hearing them or having to engage with them in such a constant way?
I totally don't have a optimal solution for that as of now, but I also think that this particular situation has put them also in stress, and they need
Yeah.
some ways of adapting to it. Is one thing I would definitely go for, is like having a word with them, or maybe engaging in a conversation with them.
What about
But
also thinking about changing how, like going away, all of you even, to get a different perspective, whether it's going hiking or going and renting a little place by the beach, or something. I'm not saying it's something unsafe, but I am saying something safe. But shake it up, to shake up what it's like to be around each other and what it's like to be. Uh, if they're caught in a rut too, and are getting to the point where they can't stand being around each other or just stressed about it, sometimes changing the situation for everybody can breathe new life into us, basically. Do you think that that's possible? Or are you like, oh my God, no, more time? That would be the worst.
um,
Reaction
in
is,
fact, I'm on neither sides. I mean, like it's good to try something that might work, but at the same time, yes. I mean, will it work or not? I'm still skeptical about it, but yes, I would definitely give it a go.
yeah, it's something to maybe see how it is, because they're also, they're saying that the divorce rates are going really up all over the place in the world, because people are suddenly stuck with each other all the time, and they're like, all those things that I didn't find, I found acceptable in small doses from you, now I'm getting in large doses and I can't escape them. And for people to remember what it is they liked about each other, and to be in a different environment, and shake themselves out of the environment they're in, that can be a way to just, like exercising, like getting the blood going to the brain. All new experiences, new environments also gets that blood going to the brain and gets us thinking, oh, like this is something different. Oh, I can learn now, like something entirely different, what it is to be crunching in the leaves. I forgot what that is like. I only, it was last fall that I got to do that. I need to go out and feel that again. Anyway, that's just an idea of uh, maybe a way to shake up the triangle. I think it's three of you, is that right?
Yep, and a brother who occasionally visits, but that's a separate thing again. Yep.
You're the brother who's now there all the time.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So, you know, and that's a tough responsibility in some ways when you also see that things may be deteriorating in a family around you and that you're kind of powerless to do much about it. So, proposing something to make people feel differently and come together in a different way, maybe could help.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome, of course, of course. Anna, would you like to share how you are doing during this situation? Or Raj?
Sure, I'll go ahead.
Okay, great.
Well, yeah, things have been a little different for the last few months, but I try to uh, put myself in a position where I can focus. And first thing that changed is I changed my iPhone to BlackBerry, and that changed everything.
How did that change everything?
I mean, I looked at my screen time and I looked at where I'm spending most of my time. So it looks like social media is killing time. So
Yeah.
I wanted to transition myself so I can work better and utilize the time. So first thing I did is change my iPhone and got a BlackBerry where I still have internet and everything, but I can't scroll through because I don't have touch anymore.
Right. So all the
So,
fun things are gone.
well, I set up some time because I didn't throw away my iPhone because it's very hard. So
Yeah.
I just set a schedule so I did few transitions over the last few months, and then I set up a pattern. Now it's really helping me get back onto my routine now that we are working from home. Yeah, that's the first thing that changed because
Yeah.
every morning the moment I get up I used to spend hours of time on my phone.
Yeah.
So getting a BlackBerry, I mean, getting a phone without a touch changed it because it's hard to scroll through and open up. So I think that's the first thing that helped me realize how much time I'm wasting. And then
Mm-hmm.
what I did is I switched using TikTok, going back to Audible. So whenever
Oh,
I want to open TikTok, so
yeah.
I open Audible now. So to listen to a book or read something on Audible. So that is making me get used to a new habit. And
Yeah.
then so I was browsing through on how to focus more on your work and everything, and then I understood that working out is also better. So I ordered a boxing bag, so every 1 hour I just spend 5 minutes on that. So that really is helping me. I mean, this hasn't going on for the last month,
Yeah.
and month by month I analyzed where I am wasting my time, and then three things that are helping me over the last 1 or 2 weeks is like changing my phone and
Mm-hmm.
you know refreshing myself every 1 hour, because what was happening earlier is like you work for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you feel like, oh, I've worked so much, I need to go look at social media, YouTube or something,
Yeah.
which I am now spending it on hitting the boxing bag or lifting some weights at home. So
Well, what I love what you're doing is this natural thing that, by the way, that could be your reward is looking at social media, but limiting and saying, hey, I have 5 minutes before I go back to work again. That can be your reward, even though I love that you're beating something up for your reward because
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
definitely. And that is where I'm missing it up, because like now I set the schedule like every night, 1 hour before I go to bed, I use social media, and that is dragging me till like 1 a.m. in the morning. So that is something
Ah,
that I need to get rid of.
right. So maybe it's putting it in differently. I was saying that the Pomodoro method of managing your time is basically structured on, creating 25-minute blocks and then giving yourself a 5-minute reward at the end of it, and you work towards the reward. And oftentimes people I talk to, their reward is playing on social media, but they're only given 5 minutes to do it. and then they have to go back to their task. And maybe moving your social media throughout the day, but in small amounts, as opposed to the endless, the endless play in the middle of the night. Maybe that would be a way to manage that a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
but it was, I mean, it's for me, I don't know about everybody, but it's very hard to go back and like social media is meant for that, right? Once you dig in, it's very hard to go back.
it
So that
is.
5 minutes way drag you into 5 hours as well. So that is the problem for me. So
Yes. So either setting a timer, so at least you know when you've blown it, like, so it doesn't, that it's like, okay, I'm giving myself 5 minutes, I'm giving myself 10 minutes. That's all it is. And then I really need to put it down. But you're right. To some degree, it's an addiction thing. And so once you pick it up, it's really hard to put down. And so there, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I think that they also say the whole thing about, not looking at the screens before you go to sleep at night, literally because of the light, that is part of what keeps us up. And that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you start looking at it and it's keeping you up, and you're looking at it and it's keeping you up. And so it's not a great thing to do, as I'm sure we all know, to have these things by our beds and to bring them into the bed. Everybody says that that's like the worst thing to do imaginable, right? But it definitely messes with your sleep patterns also. So finding a different time to do it, Raj, if you want to spend, a couple hours a day on social media, maybe it needs to be in the middle of the day and just say, fine, that's what it is. That's when I'm doing it. But nighttime, I can't do it.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's what I think. I think the ultimate solution is just to get rid of the phone. So that's
Oh,
what I figured in my case. So I'm gonna do it, but it's hard to throw it away at a day, because the next time you're gonna get it, you're never gonna throw it. So I just wanna do it in a
it's
slower
so
basis.
hard. What about, wait a second, without throwing out the phone necessarily, before going that drastic, what about just removing the apps?
Well, you have already registered it via email, right? So you get notifications on your email that makes you curious to click on it and download the app. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well,
well, I mean, it's not about like spending too much time on social media is wasted. I mean, we see a lot of content which may be for you to smile or you to learn
yeah.
something new. But yeah, that one piece of controlling it of how you use it is where I have problems. I don't know about others, but
Yeah.
it's
I
about
would love to hear from others because I have
yeah.
problems with it myself. So I get it. It just, and one of the other problems with it is, and where are you living, Raj?
I was in Portland, Oregon, but
Oh,
right
that's
now I'm in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh my, okay. So, at least in the United States, obviously not everybody's probably from the US, but it's inundating. The news is endless and mostly negative and stressful and unavoidable if you turn on anything. And so you'll appreciate, Raj, I live downtown Portland. So
Oh wow!
my distractions have been protests, for the last, I don't know, 3-4 months.
Last 6 months, yeah, that's when I
6
moved
months.
away
See?
from Portland.
Time, I can't tell anymore. So they're quieter now, definitely, but it's made it become like not quite a war zone, but just really unpleasant outside. And so going out has become challenging where I live as well. So anyway, I love your idea of get a BlackBerry to like get rid of part of the problem.
Because nobody wants to go back to Nokia anymore. So
Yeah.
at least at least I can say I have a smartphone. So
I must say we've all existed, as humans, we've existed for what, 10,000, more than 10,000 years, civilization, without these things. And we had lives. And now it feels like become reliant on these things for our lives, and
Well,
it's not true.
yeah, that's what I realized. So it's like I was under the impression that we got addicted, but I looked at a documentary in Netflix called Social Media,
Yeah.
and that if you look at that, that will show us we didn't get addicted. They made us get addicted. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's how they get their money, and why we need new ones every 2 years. They also make them,
every year,
go out.
every year, and it's already sold out. The new version is already sold out without a charger and a headset. So
Yeah. This is painful stuff. Okay. Thank you.
alrighty.
I think you had some really good ideas on how to deal. Thank you for sharing. Lamai or Ron or Satish, if you'd like to share, please just unmute yourself. And what we're sharing right now is ways that we've learned how to adapt to what's going on. Actually, I'm going to switch to one of my other slides because I wanted to bring this up. There was this study that was done of 35 high-level healthcare executives, and they were testing them as to, they're all high stress level people. We're talking about people that are running hospitals all over the world. And the issue of whether they were stressed is a non-issue. They were stressed, absolutely. But whether they hit burnout or not, that's actually the thing that we're all sort of trying not to do, right, is burnout. And there was a lot of things that they did in order to avoid it. And a lot of it had to do with whether they invested time in themselves or not, whether they spent time exercising and being with themselves, or they just kept plowing through things. And so it may turn into different things for you, how you invest in yourself, but that seems to be one of the key factors in not getting to the point where you actually need help from others in a more structured way, or that you are really just at your wit's end, whatever we want to call it. Some things to pay attention to here, and these are signs that you're heading towards burnout, as opposed to just you're having stress and trying to feel with how to deal with the stress. And that's that you're starting to do a lot of negative talk about other people, about yourself, about everything, that it seems to be that your way of looking at the world at this point is taking a turn towards negativity. That's something we have to pay attention to and listen for in ourselves. Is the world totally crap and everything is awful about it? Every single thing you run into, or is this your perspective now? And if this is becoming your perspective, that could be a sign that you're heading towards burnout. Things that you've done in the past that to make yourself resilient are not working anymore. They are feeling like they're too difficult to do. It's too difficult to go to sleep on time at night. It's too difficult to eat healthy because pizza is so much easier. It's too difficult to talk to friends because, well, I don't know, then I have to like go on Zoom or I have to go on the phone, and it just, you start to get like things are just too difficult to do. Things that would have made you feel good in the past. That's when you can start to tell that your resilience might be flagging. And another thing work-wise, especially, is when you notice that you're making mistakes, that things are happening that you would have never made that sort of mistake before. But now you're like, wait a second, what a mess that is. I noticed it, but maybe I stopped it, but it was a mistake. If you find yourself having more and more of those, that's also a sign that that your resilience is flagging, basically, and that you're heading towards burnout, which is what we don't want, of course. Things about burnout, though, and stress that we have to acknowledge, and it's kind of interesting that one of the things that has changed also during lockdown is that so much of the mental health help that we have, first of all, we're realizing that there's not enough mental health for everybody. And it is difficult to get it, that's for sure. However, it's all gone online. So what's good about that is it has brought down a lot of the barriers, especially for men, going to seek mental health help, somebody to talk to, somebody to help share wisdom with. That's become a little easier and for people because it is online, even though it's hard to find people that maybe you relate to. And what we are seeing is that more men are seeking out help now that they don't have to walk into an office. That's a good thing, because there's no shame in seeking help about things or seeking different perspectives, or in having the ability to invest in yourself that way also, to have someone to speak to, whether it be your priest, rabbi, chief, psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever. Being able to invest in yourself and being able to talk things through and have some time that's just for you, really. That can be something that is important. And the other thing is, I was writing down, identifying the type of help you need. Sometimes, so it's one thing to know that I need help. It's too hard. I'm getting stressed out. I don't know where to go. And it's another thing knowing what the right help is going to be. And that's not for me to say, but what I am going to say is that there can be different help at different times, that and you need to be open to looking for it and finding it and listening to it once you do find it. So it may be that a trusted friend is actually the help that you need, and being able to talk to them is sufficient. But then you have to, invest in talking to that friend and making that a reality. Or maybe it's somebody who has professional experience and is able to sit back and talk about family relationships and dynamics and have different perspective on like how to deal with the dynamics or how the dynamics need to change. And a friend may not be the appropriate person for that, because you need someone who has more serious experience or longer time and study into methodology that might be helpful. And so try to assess where the stresses really are and what kind of help you really need, when it is beyond your family and friends, and when it is something that, to have a professional perspective on this might be interesting, or to have a religious perspective on this might be interesting to me. And it can also not work, in which case, fine, you can go somewhere else, to find help. It doesn't have to be a one-shot deal. And so that's what I mean by experimentation. That since there is no one answer for everyone's issues and problems and stresses, cultivating that sense of curiosity and willingness to experiment with yourselves, on yourselves, I think is a very healthy thing to do, and to open yourself up to it. And just to give you an example, I went to North Carolina for a month and visited a friend in the mountains of North Carolina. And her new boyfriend is the head of the astronomy club for Western North Carolina, which is a big club, it turns out. And we went out and we looked at the stars. And not only did we look at the stars, we were able to see Jupiter and all of its moons, or 4 of its moons, excuse me. And we were able to see Saturn and its rings and in between the rings and stuff, just with this telescope on this mountain. I haven't looked through a telescope since I was probably 10 years old or something. And it inspired me to go, wait a second, what a wonderful thing to do during lockdown, going out and like just being with the universe and seeing these beautiful things that are around us. And so I joined the astronomy club when I came back here, which does meet regularly. So I don't have to buy a telescope, but I can participate in this and go out and think about things that are bigger than me. And so why I bring that up is that it was an experiment. It was an experiment that paid off because it gave me something that I wasn't focused on before. And I don't think that without lockdown, I would have, first of all, probably gone and visited in that way. And second of all, that was like one of the few options of things that we could all do together was to go out and do that outside. So I want to encourage experimentation as well. And ultimately, what we're all doing right now is we're living a lot more consciously with the fact that things are uncertain. We can't make the plans that we've wanted to make before or we've made in the past. We can't make the same plans right now. And things will be different, but they won't be the same. And living with that type of uncertainty is a stressor in and of itself. We're creatures of habit, as Raj was talking about, very much creatures of habit. And not knowing where things are going or not having a clear sense of where things are going can be a real stressor. The nice thing is, all of us have the problem. All of us have the same uncertainty, and maybe we always had the same uncertainty. We're just becoming a little more conscious about it right now. So the only thing I would also say is that, we're in it together, and that's why I wanted this to be an open conversation, actually, because there's no reason that Ron and Laurette don't have some of the answers that Raj and me need to hear. That might make a difference to how we're dealing with stress and might give us permission to experiment and to try things that might make this a healthier time for ourselves. So these are just things to keep in mind that we can talk about that are things that can keep the stress levels down. Animals, having animals in your life, exercise, spelled wrong, I think. Hobbies, like my astronomy thing, goals and structures. And also one of the biggest ones I think is adjusting your expectations of, I think when the lockdown started, there's some people that decided, oh, great, this is my time to master a language and take up painting. And I'm going to write that book, and I'm going to take 3 courses, and I'm going to, because, I'm trapped here, so I might as well do all of these things because all I have is time, right? And we saw a lot of people start burning out from that, start burning out from putting their expectations and demands on their lives to such a high degree that they didn't acknowledge that, okay, and this is also an extraordinary time, and I also need to just take care of myself, and I also need to get through it. I don't need to win. I don't need to beat it. But I do need to get through it. And that winning and beating it expectation of what you went into this with and what is happening now for you and what will maybe continue happening for the next months to year, I don't know, is being loving with yourself about the expectations that you're putting on yourself as to what you want to achieve and what you are capable of doing. If you come from a place of love to yourself and to others, as opposed to high expectations and demands and just sort of intolerance for imperfection. Those are ways to get yourself even more stressed, basically. So I encourage you to find a place of love for yourself and those around you, and to come at it from that point of view rather than having great expectations of how we're all going to be just fabulous during this and after this. Would anybody else like to, and please do, share either things that they have done to make this a less stressful situation for themselves, because we all have things to learn from each other, or things that are bothering them that they would like to, share and see if we have any ideas as to what might make it better. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to share, please. Hello, Andrea, and hello, everyone. Thank you for this lovely session. I like it so much. And yeah, sure, with the lockdown, we were at home and we want to improve and learn more. I've been in Udacity scholarships and the Coursera also, etc. But what I want to share is my stress. I have been learning machine learning for 1 year right now. And every time I've been contacted by someone who want me to work with him for as freelancer or in company, I feel I'm stressed. I feel I'm not ready yet. I feel that I cannot do it. Sometimes I neglect as just I don't answer the message, and I feel like no, if I say yes, I will not do it and I will just have a bad reputation. So I don't know what to do with this feeling because I feel that block me. I did a lot of personal projects. I write blogs in Medium. Some students contact me to help them. I help them with their projects. But when it is about me or someone for money, I feel like, no, I cannot do it. I don't know what to do.
I have a question for you. Would you hire you to do a project?
Yes, I think I can do it. I can do it. Even if I can, if the project is new, I will search and I will not let it down. But I don't trust myself, I think, that much.
But you would hire yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't totally not believe in yourself, actually. You do believe in yourself to the degree that you know that you do a good job. But what sort of input have you gotten from others when you have done work for them?
They are happy and they thank me, and sometimes they come back for another consulting.
Okay, so you would hire you, and people who have hired you would hire you. These other people, though, these other people that are coming at you, why do you want to not give them the benefit of your service?
Because all of the other people, it was volunteering. It was just doing it as volunteer, not a work, not paying.
Not paying. So it's the actually like going the pay thing. That
Yeah.
kind of, oh, they actually want to give me money, and now that's a different thing than what I was doing before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not different, by the way. It isn't. It isn't. Work, whether it's paid or not paid, how you show up is what really matters. You could have been doing terrible work, even though you were unpaid for it. It could have been terrible.
Yeah.
And maybe you wouldn't have invested in it nicely because it was unpaid work also. But I think that issue of being that little line, which is not a big line because money is not so important to many people as it is that we make it into such a big thing and so important. It's their way of saying, I'm going to give you money because that's what I have to give you. Could you please solve a problem for me? If you feel like you could solve a problem for them,
Mhm.
That is their only way of saying thank you.
Yeah.
Giving you money.
Mhm.
So if you think you can solve the problem for them, you need to solve the problem for them. It's great, wonderful, right? That's why they want to give you money.
Yeah.
That's all work is just people having problems and other people and then deciding to give other people money to solve their problems.
Mhm.
So you sound like you're able to solve people's problems and that you have been doing this.
Yeah.
And these new people, that's their only thank you. And it's kind
Yeah.
of insulting not to take their thank you from them.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, if we want to think like this, yeah, because I was thinking like just go ahead and send your resume. If they say no or they don't like your job, what's the best thing or the worst thing is could happen? They are just going to say no, and that's it. But I think the idea is in my head, but when I want to do it, I feel like no, I cannot. I don't know. I have those ideas in my head, but when it is for action, something keeps me.
So how can you do it differently? How can you respond differently to people when they are asking you to help them solve a problem?
Um, I think it's just first time. If I can send my resume for one and I do it for the first time, I think uh, all the steps are going to be easier. Even with machine learning, when I wanted to start the first time, I thought that I cannot do it.
So you need to get over that hump, basically. Just
Yeah.
have the first one happen and then get used to it on some level. So so are you going to say yes to the next one?
I want that. Yeah, badly.
Okay. Is there anything that would stop you from saying yes right now?
No.
Oh, okay. Good. So the answer will be yes.
Yeah.
I would love for you to write me and tell me
Mm.
when you say yes. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Because I would like to know when that happens and how that happens.
Okay.
And I'm just going to put, and this is for all of you, that's fine, in the chat. Oh, I say that? I'm trying to put it in the chat, but there I am. This is my email address. Um,
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Taylor. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna
wonderful.
say this sounds like you're dealing with imposter syndrome, which is like
Mhm.
I think super common in the computing field. Um, one thing that I've done is like writing myself little pep talk type things. So I'll like leave myself notes, just notes of encouragement and things like that to uh, kind of remind myself that I am good enough, even though sometimes I might disagree with that or feel like otherwise in comparison to other people in the field and things like that. So it might be helpful to like leave notes for yourself or like reminders to like do something, things in places where you'll see them, frequently.
That's a lovely idea.
Yeah, I also would like to add one point. So I have been in the similar scenario a long time before. So my suggestion would be to, I know you're having hard time accepting a project because your reputation may go bad, but if you're going to stay in the same way, you're going to always stay in the same way. One thing is just talk to your client and set the expectations that this is your first project. It may be delayed or whatever the reason, so they are not surprised. And second thing is to go ahead and do it because even if you fail, nothing is going to go bad for you because you will learn a lot of lessons which will even make you grow faster than you expect. Because if you keep rejecting all those offers, you're always going to be rejecting, you're never going to accept anything. So the first project is always the key. No matter the outcome of it, it's about you getting confident enough. This will also improve you as a person, so that way you can communicate better with your client. I mean, the whole point, again, to sum it up, is to just go out and give it a try. Even if it fails, you learn a lesson. If it gets succeeded, then your confidence even grows up. And just to add a tip to that, try meeting up with other professionals in your similar area. Like, there are so many machine learning communities. Just join them and get suggestions when you're stuck in the project or something, so that way they can also help you bring up your confidence. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hive Brain, everybody. That was wonderful. Wonderful you're sharing. Would anybody else like to share before we lock down for the day?
Yeah, I'd just like to let you all know there's a book that kind of talks about all this that's relatively new called Indistractable. I don't know if I joined late. I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but it's written by the guy who actually wrote the book called Hooked, that teaches companies how to get people to use their applications over and over again, to get hooked on their applications. And in this book, Indistractable, he teaches people how to not be distracted and to focus on your work. And one of the main takeaways is time blocking, which you can look that up as well. But yeah, Indistractable is a really good resource. I can post a.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you could put it into the chat, that would be great as a resource to share for people. Let's see where the chat is. There's the chat. Indistractable is what it's called.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up on Amazon. Let me just copy this link.
I think Hooked itself is a better book first to start off with.
Which one?
The Hooked, the same author.
Oh, Hooked. Yeah.
I don't think you definitely do not need to read Hooked before you. I would actually recommend reading Indistractable first if you haven't read either one of them.
Okay. Wonderful.
Because it's more pertinent to this topic.
Yeah.
But definitely, they're both great books for sure. Hooked is more about how to get people hooked, but it's good for knowing the mechanics of causing you to be to I guess be hooked, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, to be hooked. Yeah, they're good titles, actually. So it sounds like they belie what's inside. So thank you for sharing that, Ron. I appreciate that. So does anybody else have anything to share? If not, we'll be wrapping up. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you. I really appreciate people opening up about this. I don't know one person at all who hasn't been affected by the situation that we're all in, and hasn't had to develop new types of resilience to deal with it. And so I'm just grateful to you all that you've shared and that you've given me the opportunity to share as well. And I encourage you to keep experimenting and keep trying to find ways that keep you not burning out, basically, and maybe still stressed, but able to manage it and able to find joy in this time as well. Thank you, and I will see you all around the Udacity campus, as they say. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. See ya.
Thank you.
You're welcome.